Making a move is a huge commitment, and my wife and I made the move to Salem, Oregon just a few years ago, and we were in your shoes, trying to figure out if this was the right city and a good fit for our family. Now, I spoke with my family and some friends that have moved here a number of years ago, and my wife spoke to some future colleagues. And unfortunately, a lot of times they sugarcoat things or just want to tell you the positives because they really want you to move closer to them if it's friends or family, or if you're talking to future colleagues or a future boss of yours, they really want you to make the move too to fill that job position. So when you're doing your research, it's good to find the positives, of course, and some of the negatives. And a lot of times when you go to different websites, city websites, again, they're making highlights of the city and the town to draw you to their place. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great reasons to move to Salem, Oregon. If you catch some of my other videos, you'll see why. But in this video, I am dedicating it to 5 reasons of why you may not want to move to Salem, Oregon. So let's get into it. Now, the first reason you may not want to move to Salem, Oregon is the sheer lack of nightlife, lack of night entertainment. Now, this depends on where you're coming from. A lot of people that have moved to Salem are coming from bigger cities, Portland, Seattle. My family and I came from Los Angeles and California. So we're used to having everything we want pretty much open till midnight, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., depending. And you're just not going to find that here in Salem. Now, for my family and I, my wife and I, this was not a huge deal for us. We're in a different stage of our life, but if we were in our 20s, this would absolutely not be our first choice because there's no real bars that stay open late. There's no club scenes, lack of night venues available for people here in Salem. And so if that's something that's really a draw for you or that's something that you need in your life, then Salem is not going to be a good fit for you. And it's quite a ways away, quite a ways a drive to find what you're looking for. You have to go up to Portland, which is about an hour, hour and a half drive, depending on how deep you go into Portland before you find any real nighttime entertainment. That's where huge concert venues, you got your sporting events and professional sports with the Trailblazers and soccer clubs out in Portland. Or you could head south into some of the college towns that we have here in Corvallis, about 45 minutes drive. Or you can spend an hour and a half down the 5 into Eugene, where the University of Oregon is, where you're going to find nightlife there too. But in Salem, even the surrounding cities like Kaiser, Turner, Monmouth, Dallas, just not going to happen. Most of the places here close around 8 p.m., 10 p.m. Now, there are a few bars that stay open a little bit later, and you're going to find all of this in the downtown area. There's a couple of other places along maybe Commercial, but downtown is going to be your best bet to find it. But again, it's lacking. If you're going to be moving to Salem, you just have to come to grips with and understand that you're going to have a quieter nightlife. People kind of stay in. Not that we're all homebodies. We love to explore and a lot of outdoor adventure here. But a lot of people do hang out at home, barbecue at home, grill it up at home, house parties, game nights, neighborhood events. And then throughout the year, you do have community events that go on, especially at Riverfront Park. And sometimes those will go later into the evening. But again, those are special occasions. So if you're a night owl, party animal, Salem's not going to be the right fit for you. The second reason you may not want to move to Salem, Oregon is that it rains a ton here and it is overcast and cloudy a good 8 months out of the year. It is the Pacific Northwest, so that is the expectation. So if you are, again, moving from Seattle and you're coming to Salem, it's actually better here in my opinion. Same with Portland. I think we have a slightly better weather here in Salem. But if you're coming outside of the Pacific Northwest, you just need to prepare for the cloudy skies and the rain. And if you're someone that is susceptible to kind of seasonal depression, well, it's something you should really consider before making a move here. I highly recommend coming here during the fall and the winter, spending some time here so you have an understanding of what it's really like. Now, my family and I relocated from sunny Southern California, where we had 300 days of sun. So this was a big change for us. And if you're coming from a place that gets a lot of sun, well, it could be quite an adjustment. And frankly, I'm still adjusting. I've been here a few years. And as much as I love the rain and I love what comes out of the rain, I mean, it is beautiful here. We have tons of green space, forest, trees, flowers blooming in the spring. Beautiful, beautiful geography here. But in order to get that, it takes rain. So I love the rain, but sometimes I just want that sun just a little bit. I need the vitamin D. I need the sunshine coming out. I don't care if it's cold. I just want some sun at least. And here in Salem, you just get a window of sun in spring and summer. And don't get me wrong, you do get some sun in the fall, and the sun does peak out in the winter. That, it's just not completely constant, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Vast majority of the time, gray, cloudy skies and rain. Now, when it rains here, it's not like huge monsoon storms that we'd experience in southern portions of the US or even in Southern California and Los Angeles. When it does rain there, it just dumps rain. We do get some big storms that roll on through here, but a lot of times just kind of this lighter, constant, misty rain. Sometimes I just wish it would rain, just make a decision and just rain or not rain. I don't like the little misty rain that's kind of hitting you in the face while you're running your errands or going exploring. So, and if you got a family too, you got to think about that. You've got kids, it takes time to get them into their rain clothes and their cold weather clothes, and it takes some time to get out of it when you get home. They're cranky, they don't want to keep shedding and putting on clothes and rain boots. You have to bring layers. A lot of times during the day, the sun peaks out and it gets kind of warm, and then all of a sudden the cloud cover and it starts raining. So you're going to always want to bring some sort of rain jacket during fall, winter, and parts of spring. For my family and I, we love being outside and we love outdoor activities. And that was a big adjustment because my kids love just being outside. Sometimes they're looking outside longingly like, oh my gosh, will the sun come out? But you know what? In Salem and in Oregon, we find ways to have fun. There's lots of indoor activities. The city is equipped with some great places for family entertainment, family fun zones, and then we just have fun in the house. We have fun with friends and family that come on over, and we just make sure we entertain ourselves inside. Now, the cool thing is that the rain does not stop people from having fun outside either. People are going about their business, living their lives. It's not like where I come from, where if it drops rain, and anywhere in Southern California, the roads are a mess and everyone's a disaster and everyone's all pissed off and upset. It's just not the way it is here. It's a way of life. You eventually get used to it. We're still getting used to it. I've had clients that have come here from other parts of the country, even where it rains a bit for them, and they still are a little bit shocked of just how much weather we get here. Again, I'm Dave Fein with the Real Estate Dads, a local real estate agent right here in Salem, Oregon. My team and I love helping people move and relocate to this city. So if you have any questions or if you're thinking about making that move, make sure you're hitting us up at the contact information below. And if you like what you're seeing, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified, and comment below. I want to hear about why you're thinking about making a move to Salem. And if there's anything that you're concerned about, I can help answer. All right, the third item on the list kind of goes with weather, and that is allergies. Allergies are real here. It is no joke here. The pollen is flying, the flowers are blooming, you've got grass everywhere, you got farmland surrounding the city. So if you're susceptible to allergies or you get them easily and they really bother you, then you may want to reconsider moving to Salem. Thankfully, when I made the move here, my family and I weren't affected as much as I thought we were going to be. Now, I know a little uptick with my sensitivity to allergies since moving here and my oldest son, but it hasn't been that bad for us personally. However, my brother and we've got family and other family and the neighbors, they can get it pretty bad. And if you're not used to it, it can be pretty miserable. You're stuffy, you're sneezing, you're coughing, you got sore throat, and it can kind of bring you down. So if you're not down from the seasonal depression of gray skies and rainy skies, then you may get down from having allergies during the spring, just as everything's blooming, the sun is coming out, and now you're hit with just not feeling all that well. So not only do I recommend coming out here in the fall and winter to see what our gray skies are like and the rain is like, but come out here during the spring to see if your body can handle the allergy season here in Salem. Now, the reason why we have a big allergy season, and I alluded to this before, is because we have a beautiful spring here where we have lots of blooming flowers and the trees are growing back. And so there's a lot of beauty that comes with the allergy season. And with all the surrounding farms, as I mentioned before, they've got these great you-pick farms. You can go pick fresh berries, fresh fruit. And so there is a positive and a negative aspect to this spring and this allergy season. And so if you can handle the allergies, then you're going to be just fine. But if you're super susceptible to it, then I would second guess the move here to Salem. Now, the fourth reason you may want to reconsider moving to Salem, Oregon, is the lack of options. Now, I'm speaking to people that are moving from a larger city, that are downsizing, moving to a smaller city, looking for that slower lifestyle like my family and I were looking for. Now, Salem is a population of just under 200,000 people. Now, when I'm talking lack of options, I'm talking about lack of shopping options, lack of restaurant options, and those types of entertainment. I'm not going to speak to nightlife because we went over that in that first reason why you may not want to move to Salem. But just in your general shopping, your amenities, it's kind of lacking here in Salem if you're coming from a large city. I was used to having tons of restaurants of all different types of food. If I wanted a Mexican restaurant, I could find 40 of them right away. Same with Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Thai, Italian, French, whatever it was, I could find easily. Or if I'm looking for different shopping or retail centers, I had a huge amount of options when living in a big city. That's just not the case when living in Salem. So you've got the Willamette Town Center, which is along Lancaster. That's where you have a lot of your big box stores like Best Buy. You've got TJ Maxx, Hobby Lobby. You've got a Target across the way from that town center. You've got a new Barnes and Noble, and you've got a few other smaller stores and a couple of other restaurants. There's also a movie theater there. That's where the biggest shopping district or shopping center would be as far as Salem goes. Downtown, you do have a mall. It's a little defunct now. It's being reinvented. It was recently bought up by an investor, a developer, and so they are going to revitalize the indoor shopping mall. In my opinion, it's a little lackluster, a little run down, and it needs a big jump start. Now, we're not exactly sure what's going to be put in there and what stores are going to stay, what stores are going to be changed out, but I am positive and having good hopes that it is going to bring a little bit more to the downtown area. And I mentioned downtown, besides the indoor shopping mall, which I don't really recommend, downtown is small. People say it's about 7 square blocks. I would actually argue it's more like 4, because I'd say 3 of those square blocks are just kind of government buildings. I like the downtown area. It's got a lot of mom and pop, local owned shops, local owned restaurants, and I really appreciate the small town feel. The buildings, about an average of 3 stories high. Tallest one, I think, is like 9 stories. So it has a small town charm. You have antique stores, you've got restaurants, you've got sweet shops, you've got a couple bars, some coffee places, bicycle shops, a really cool local bookstore, tattoo parlors, some boutique clothing shops, and a lot more. So downtown's a cool spot, just not a huge spot. The other big shopping district would be in Kaiser, which is the adjacent city, and they have the Kaiser Station, which is a lot newer than the Willamette Town Center. Again, this is where you're going to be anchored by a lot of big box stores there as well to get some of your retail therapy there. But that's really about it. And there's not a whole lot of high-end shopping. For that, you're really going to need to go into Portland and the downtown area or some of the suburbs there that have some really nice high-end shopping. And again, with restaurants, we've got a few higher end restaurants, but not what you're going to find in Portland or even in Eugene. And then as far as variety and options go, we've got a handful of different types of food here, but you're just not going to get the plethora of yes, I said plethora, cultural experience and different, lots of variations of ethnic foods like you would in a large city. Now, I say all this and realize pretty quickly that the grand options that we have in big cities and all these choices that we have is kind of an illusion, at least for my family and I. We found some really good spots where we used to live, and we frequent those places constantly. We like to try new restaurants and try new areas to shop in and stuff, but really we would find our spots and just kind of stick to those places. So it's almost like an illusion of choice where, oh my gosh, I don't have all these places to choose from. But when you really think about your patterns and how you live your life, a lot of times you're finding your favorite spots and sticking to it. And that's what we found here in Salem. We have found some great options, some great food, and we love frequenting those places. And we love exploring and finding new places. And there are new restaurants coming in. Salem is doing a better job of bringing in new types of shopping, new types of retail, new types of restaurants. And I do appreciate that the city's trying to make that push forward towards that. Now, before I get to the 5th reason why you may not want to move to Salem, Oregon, I was just thinking I'm going to add a 6th reason. Now, this is going to speak to you, especially if you have a family or if you're thinking about starting a family and moving to Salem. So make sure to keep going past this 5th reason to a bonus 6th. Now, reason number 5 is the small town feel. Now, I know if you talk to people that live in Salem, not necessarily do they feel like they live in a small town. And if you look at population size in other cities, it's not a true small town. It's not like a population of 20,000 people. We are a population, as I mentioned, just under 200,000 people. But again, if you're coming from a large city, now I came from Los Angeles, the city itself was 40 million people. The county was 10 million people. Not expecting you to be coming from a big city like that unless you are coming from LA. And if you are, make sure you definitely talk to me before making the move here. But if you're other big cities like Portland, Seattle, Denver, Chicago, Philadelphia, parts of New York, Miami, you know, those are big cities too. And you come from a dense population, a lot of people, and as I mentioned before, a lot of options, big high-rise buildings if you're into the city center area. And when you come to Salem, it is not like that at all. It is a much smaller town feel, and that may hit you in a certain way. Now, for my family and I, this is exactly what we were looking for. We were tired of the big city life. We didn't like that lifestyle. We did not like the congestion. We did not like the traffic in those big cities. We just wanted something quieter and just a place where we can breathe. We've got a small downtown, as I mentioned before, just 4 to 7 blocks, as I mentioned before. But what really makes Salem feel smaller is we don't have a lot of cities around us. It's mainly farmland. Again, to me, that's a draw. We have Kaiser, which is just this city adjacent to us. In fact, a lot of things are connected to each other. We've got the Salem Kaiser School District, but that's about it. Everything else is just farmland around us. And to me, that's a big draw. I really appreciate that. And in Salem, we have an urban growth boundary, maps popping up right about now. But in this boundary, you're really not allowed to build housing and all these commercial spaces outside of the urban growth boundary. Will that boundary change? Maybe over time, but for now and for a long time, it really hasn't made a move. And so when it takes about 20 minutes to get outside of the city center into the more rural parts of Salem. And once you're there, it's nothing but farmland, farm animals, wineries, vineyards, and that's it. So you're not even surrounded by other adjacent cities, or it's not just like, you know, a 15-minute drive and you've got the next city, another 15 minutes, another city. So if you're coming from big city, you may find yourself going through some withdrawals. Now, we didn't experience that moving to this big city because we were completely prepared and ready for it. We did not want that big city life anymore. If you are thinking about moving to Salem, you're probably in that spot too. And if you're not, then it's going to be a big shock to your system. As I mentioned before, with that small town feel comes a lack of options, a lack of nightlife, and you may feel a lack of things to do, and you may feel a little uncomfortable with not having that many people around, or uncomfortable seeing a lot of the same people in the same places very often. You get to know your neighbors and your community very well here. Again, I think that's a positive and a draw, but if you're a big city life person, then the city of Salem is absolutely not going to be the right move for you. Now, as I mentioned, I am throwing in a bonus 6th reason of why you should make the move here. But before, make sure you comment below. I love to hear your reasons of what your concerns are about moving to Salem. I've helped a lot of clients make the move here as a real estate agent. And so I've heard it all, I've seen it all. I've made the move here. I was in your shoes just a few years ago and relocated, again, from a bigger city to the city of Salem. So I am here for you. Make sure you reach out. Now, I'm throwing this in here because I was going through this video, I realized, again, from my perspective, and I've got a family, and one of my concerns was, is there gonna be enough things for my kids to do, kids activities? Coming from a larger city, I knew my kids would be exposed to a lot of cultural events, cultural activities, a lot of diversity, and I was concerned about moving from that in a larger city to a smaller town where I wasn't expecting to have that and as many options in that area. In a lot of ways, there is some truth for that. And if you do want that, you're gonna have to travel more north, but again, to Portland. That's gonna be your closest avenue for that. I did have some initial concerns when I first moved here, whether my kids would have exposure to a lot of different activities and a lot of different avenues and venues for them to just kind of explore their interests and maybe learn new interests. And for some things, I feel Salem is lacking. You know, in some of the bigger cities, you can find a lot of science camps and science classes and robotics classes and a lot of tech classes. And I'm just, so far, I personally haven't found a lot of that here or a lot of options. I know there are a few, but not nearly as many as I would find in a bigger city. For that, I'd have to travel north into Portland. But what I am pleasantly surprised and what I am finding here is that there are lots of activities in general for the kids to do. But outside of that specific world, if you're looking for the arts or sports, and especially agriculture and nature, the city of Salem does not disappoint with that. Now, I will say it does take a lot more effort to seek and find those places. And again, going back to the lack of options, there's not a lot of options. So when you find it, you kind of got to jump on it before they get booked, or you have to maybe commit to a little bit longer drive than you'd be used to coming from a bigger city where you have options all over the place. But I am pleasantly surprised, and my family is really happy. When we made the move here, we are finding a ton of activities, and especially I was concerned with the weather of how that would affect my kids. But we've got a lot of indoor events or indoor venues here: Croc Center, Athletic Edge, museums here like the Gilbert House, and so much more indoor activities, indoor pools, so the kids can go swimming year round if they want. And then outdoor activities, there is a boatload of those too. There's no shortage of that. And kids get exposed to what they wouldn't get exposed to in a big city, and that is a lot of agriculture here. And for us, I think that was important. My kids love it. We love being on the farms. We love learning about that aspect of life, and a lot of outdoor recreation. Again, when the weather's nice, we really take advantage of that. And then for my family and I, we're a huge sports family, all types of sports, and you're gonna find it all here. You just you're gonna have to seek it out, and it may not be year round, depending on where you're coming from. But I will say throughout the year, my kids are super active. We find all sorts of entertainment for them, all sorts of activities, and they're learning and finding lots of interest here in Salem. So if that is something you're concerned about, yes, there is some deficiencies here, but rest assured, again, very important for my family and I that we provided those options for our kids, and we are finding them, and we're finding more and more as we get in touch with the community, make more friends out here. And so it is there for you. Again, if you have any concerns about that, again, reach out, contact information below, and we can help you with that. While Salem is a great place to live, and there are some great positives here, as you can see, we've got a number of negative aspects to living in Salem, but it's all perspective, it's all lifestyle. It depends on what exactly you're looking for. It has not really truly negatively impacted my family and I, and we're happy we made the move here. But if these things are a big deal to you, or if you come out and visit, which I do highly recommend before making that move, and you think you're not gonna be able to handle it, well, then Salem's not gonna be the right place. Hope this video helped out with that, shed some light on some negative aspects of the lifestyle here. Again, my team and I love helping people relocate to the city of Salem and the surrounding areas. We also help people move out of Salem if that's what you're thinking of doing too. Contact information below. Subscribe to the channel for more videos. Hit the like button if you like what you see. Hit the bell to get notified for new videos. And comment below of why you're thinking about moving to Salem.